Welcome back to Bob's School for Shader Hackers. Today we are going to look at Lesson 4, Game Fix. That's right, we're going to actually fix the entire game of the ball because everyone loves the ball and they've been waiting days for this game to be fixed, so we're going to fix the entire game. No, not really. Of course, this game is not that important, but it is interesting to see how we can actually get a lot of traction by fixing an entire game simply by disabling all of the effects in the game that are broken in 3D. Naturally, it depends upon how broken the game is and what the effects actually are. If we are playing the game The Thief, then shadows probably need to be fixed because it's fairly critical to the actual game experience. In the ball, do shadows really matter? It's more of a puzzle game, so I would submit that shadows are not that important in this game. Same thing with some of the other effects that we're looking at, the fog, the bloom. None of those things really change the primary purpose of the game. But of course, it's a judgment call. Everyone has to decide for themselves whether or not the particular game effect is worth keeping in 3D or something that's not all that important, and it's more important to get the game out. The game that's on somebody's hard drive almost done is not nearly as much fun as the game that's actually up on Helix Mod blog down at the bottom where it says less than optimal but still playable in 3D. So let's start with fixing all of the effects by disabling them, and then we can always come back later and improve that fix and then move it into the sort of top category of the Helix Mod once we get some of the other effects fixed. That also gives you the chance to decide on a per effect basis whether or not a particular effect is worth the time that it's going to take to actually fix in the game. In a game like the ball, probably it's not worth a lot of time to try and fix some of the effects. Not that many people are going to play it. It's not that popular. It's not high on everybody's to-do list as far as games go. But having said that, if it's an easy fix, then why not? No reason not to fix it if it's fun and interesting and something to learn. Okay. Now, the big thing there is that any given effect is a artistic balance between how much an effect is worth and how much it actually detracts from the 3D experience. You can go the other way and leave some things turned on that actually detract from the experience, but maybe they're not so bad that they make you want to like not play the game in 3D. Now, of course, that judgment call is going to depend upon the person looking at it. Some people aren't going to be interested in playing the game at all unless all of the effects that you would normally see in 2D are fixed. And other people aren't going to care that much. They're willing to accept a much lower bar as long as they can get to play in 3D. So it's going to vary depending upon the people. The closer we can get to a perfect game, of course, that's naturally what we would want to do, would be to fix all of the effects. That's the optimal case. But we will definitely recognize that fixing things is a lot harder and a lot more time consuming than simply disabling them. So don't discount disabling effects and getting some results. More games is far superior to less games. Okay. As we go through this lesson, we'll see how that judgment call plays out with different effects. There's a couple in the game that actually probably need to be fixed, not necessarily disabled. Now, the idea is that if we disable all of the effects that are broken, that also gives us a nice list of all of the effects that could be fixed if we actually have the time and the motivation to actually fix them. So it also gives us a chance to prioritize those depending upon what we think are more important than other pieces. So if you only have a certain amount of time, this is a great way to structure your time. Find all of the effects, disable them, then go back. Actually, I guess let's finish that with ship it. Go ahead and put it up on Helix Mod so other people can play it if they want to with the effects disabled. Then when you have more time, come back and actually go ahead and try and fix individual effects to improve that particular game. So as part of this class, I'm actually trying to give you that sort of idea of like good working habits and good approaches for how to fix these things. It's easy to get going extra fast and get excited about trying to do some particular fix and look at 3 different things and 6 different text files that are up with different ASM, and pretty soon you've lost track of what the actual goal was and what you're actually trying to do. So as part of this, you don't have to follow my techniques, but I recommend some of these ideas just as a way to save you some time. Now, along that lines, let's go ahead and take a look at our shader from last week to take a look and see how it actually looks. So here's our shader, A977. Now, it's been a week. Do you remember everything that was going on in this file? Seems not quite as helpful as it was before. So straight code. So there's something going on here. No comment. Okay, so just raw code here. We do have a C200 in here, so there's clearly something that we're doing here, but what is all this again, and is it actually the same code that we were doing last time? I'm trying to give you an example here of how much difference the taking a little bit of time and giving yourself comments in the file and setting up the structure in a nice way can help. So this one's not as easy to tell what's going on. You can, if you put enough effort into it, find out what's going on and trace through it. But why not look at this version instead, where we actually tell us what it's going to be about, change the setting to be language C so that it looks a little bit better, comment the input parameters from Helix Mod, comment our constant that we added, outdent them so that they look visually different from the actual code that started in the file to begin with, and outdent our code here with a indent for the if EQ to separate that and make it more obvious that that's an if. When it's in assembly language, things are quite a bit harder to see. So just hope that's a good little example of the difference between how it can be easier or how it can be harder. So just observing the difference between those two files, I hope it's clear that adding a little bit of comments and a little bit of structure to the code actually can make it quite a bit easier for you to understand what's coming from the file when you come back to it a week later, or worse yet, how about 2 years later when somebody updates a driver and now the game is broken and you want to actually make it work again. Now, a lot of the Helix Mod fixes you'll find actually are just straight inline code, and you can figure out what's going on because it's just code, but then you have to painstakingly go through all the different pieces and understand where the constant came from, go back to the DX9 setting because now that thing is invisible, so you have to know what actual parameter came back in and so on as you go through that particular file to figure out what's going on. So, hope that was helpful. I can promise you as a longtime software developer that doing this kind of stuff will definitely save you time in the long run. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on fixing this game so that we can ship it and put it on the Helix Mod blog. Our goal here is going to be fairly simple. We're just going to turn off every single shader as we mentioned before and have the entire game fixed, and then that'll give us a working to-do list for things that we can actually fix in the future if we want to actually improve the game. But for our purposes, of course, that's going to be future lessons where we're actually going to learn how to fix some of those effects. Okay, first thing I'm going to talk about though is we're going to go ahead and jump into the game, and we're going to actually turn off some of the effects using the configuration UI. There are some dynamic shadows that cause problems in the game, and let's go take a look at those and see one of the easiest ways that you can actually disable effects using the UI. When we're taking a look at fixing games, one of the first things that you actually want to look at, instead of disabling shaders or trying to fix shaders, is to see whether there are settings in the game that can actually make things better for particular effects that you don't necessarily care about. So in this particular example with the ball, there's different settings that can be changed that actually will affect the games. We have ambient occlusion, dynamic shadows, and dynamic lights. Now these can definitely change the game in interesting ways. So right now you can actually see the ball itself has some sort of a strange effect on it that's not working very well. The other thing is that the monkeys actually have a strange effect where it moves with them as they move down the hallway, some sort of a shadow effect that goes across the walls as well. So that's something that's distracting while you're playing in 3D. You could fix it with shaders. Here's the ball, looking at it up close. You can see that it has something odd that can't quite put your finger on it. Shadows on the floor, definitely wrong. Going from one eye to the other eye, so definitely something's off with the shadows on the ball. So in this case, we can always take a look at the settings and see if there's some way to fix it easily. I happen to know that dynamic shadows is bad in this game because I've already looked at this. So now if we turn dynamic shadows off, now the ball actually looks pretty good. So that's probably the way to go. So we can fix those shaders, possibly, but it's one of those where that's at the setting level versus the shader level of, is that shader worth it? Is that effect worth it? Do we really need dynamic shadows? It doesn't seem like it makes that much difference in the game as far as that goes. If we go see our friend the monkey, he runs up the wall, no shadow on the wall, so it fixes that problem as well. So especially looking at it from a distance, you have to decide at that level whether or not it's worth it. And here again, that's one of those you have to make a judgment call. But for our purposes, since we're trying to do this relatively quickly, it's clear that we would want to just disable those effects instead of try to fix them. Okay, we're back in the ball, and we're going to go ahead and check and make sure that our key toggle still works. And in fact, it does. I moved the key to the letter O in the DX settings file. You can use any key that you want, including the number pad 0 if that works for you. Anything is fine. So that part still works. That means that we have a piece of code that we can use to snip that piece off. Now, one thing that's strange about the ball also that I'm noticing here is sometimes the game launches with more broken effects and sometimes it doesn't. So for example, right at the moment, I'm getting a halo around the ball's edge right around here where the fog doesn't actually quite line up on the ball. And so there's a missing edge there that wasn't there last time. And also if I look at the fog down here on the floor, I'm getting some sort of a glitch here where the fog is actually going to the wrong edge of the little cart there. So I don't really know exactly what that's all about. This scene actually was looking okay before, but now it actually has some pieces that are broken. So no time like the present, we're going to start here and go ahead and fix these shaders while we're at it. So going to do pixel shaders again like usual. 85 in this list, going to go backwards. See if I can find that fog. Okay, so that's a fog that's down there on the floor, and it's definitely got a glitch, so we're going to go ahead and mark that fog as being something that we don't need. And it's one of those where you can, even looking at it this way right at the moment, you can decide, make your judgment call. Is it critical to the game, or is it something that you could live without? Oop, I lost it, so he moved into some other part of the list, I guess. Sometimes the list moves depending upon what happens in the game as well, so that list is dynamic. Let's see, let me get back to my effect there. There it is. Okay, so you can make a judgment call on whether or not that effect actually needs to be there or not. It's definitely nice to have. The fog actually adds a nice little touch to the floor there as far as it goes. It's not nearly as egregious as the bloom effect that we disabled before. But given the sort of trade-off there, my personal judgment would be to go ahead and disable it as opposed to leaving it on and having it be a little bit of an eye problem. Other people are going to have a different opinion there, of course, so we'll see if we can work out some way to allow them to have that on versus having it off all the time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save that using the numpad 3 key, which is now saved out into the shader. I'm going to Alt-Tab back out to the desktop. Alright, now we're actually back to our Win32 shortcut, and we're going to go to the dumps folder and single shaders and pixel shader, and the most recent one was that 57 that I just did there, and that's probably our guy just because it's got the right mod date on it. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a comment at the top here. This is the fog at game splash screen on the floor. So the more detail you can give, the sort of more it makes sense. We can't do anything about fixing it right at the moment because we can't reload shaders while the game is running. It's still running over here, and we're going to leave it running for the moment. But if we mark these as we go, then we'll know what this is. Instead of just being some magic code, we'll actually know what it is when we move it back into our regular folder. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that guy now that we've marked him as being something that we want. Or no, I guess we can leave it open. It's fine. All right, switching back to the game itself. You'll also read about something called the skip list for Helix mod. I don't recommend using the skip list. It gets fairly confusing when you stack up 4 or 5 different shaders, all with different, background with no comments behind them. And I think it's easier to go this way. So that's sort of what I mean by a good technique to save you time. We could add as many skipped shaders to that particular list if we want and dump them all at one time, but then that makes it sort of a chore to figure out like what's going on later on. So I think this technique is easier. Okay, so back in the game, I'm going to go ahead and step through the shaders again. Now I'm going to try and find that fog that's around the ball itself. That seems like it right there. So now the halo disappears when I get that fog out of the way there. So it's an ambient halo that's in the room. Maybe it wasn't drawing before, and so we never saw that before. It's not clear exactly what happens. I am fairly sure that this game is pretty buggy, and so it's entirely possible that depending upon what happens during the launch or some sort of timing characteristics, you'll get different effects that turn on and turn off, and shaders that run when they don't normally run. So that's my best guess for this particular one. Okay, so interesting halo effect gives it definitely kind of a fog in there, but having that thing intersect the ball is really annoying, so that one's going to get disabled too. So I'm going to mark that one with the numpad 3. We're going to Alt-Tab back out to the desktop. Go ahead and mush all those down. And I'll go back to dumps. I guess that was not my best move there, but okay. Pixel shaders. Okay, so now we have a new one here. It's right timestamp, Pixel shader 61. So he's the new one in here. Let's go ahead and comment that one. So this one is the ambient fog in the room on splash startup screen. So that'll be fairly obvious as well. Okay. So now that one we have on our list of our growing list of shaders that should be removed. Alright, back into the game. Everything gets turned back on as we come back in, so I turn off that annoying balloon because I can hardly see anything with that thing. So just looking at that, I think that's actually what we need for this particular part of the setup. Those are the only two other effects that I see. Occasionally back here I'll see a broken thing with the hallway back here where I can see out into the like purple sky or something, and then it gives a halo around the walking man. I'm not seeing that this time, of course, because something funny with the game. If that one were still there, then I would probably go ahead and disable it, but in this case it seems to be okay. Okay, since we got that working, now we're going to go ahead and load one of the sections in the game. I got a couple of save files here, so that'll get us into the game a little bit more quickly. There's an interesting problem with this particular screen. You can see the haze that's on the bottom of the mountain has something wrong with it. We typically can't fix these sort of cutscene things because it's too hard to grab the shader while things are happening. Also, the sky doesn't seem to be at quite the right depth, but there again, it's not terrible, and this doesn't last super long, so we probably can't really get in here and fix it. We're also getting a bloom effect that's on each side of that from the sun. Okay, we are at the very first level of the game now. Now, this particular section actually looked good before, but now it actually has a couple of glitches. So, glitches in 3D. So we will go ahead and take a look and see the shadow. Let's see, for the fog in the tunnel there. It's going to be hard for you to tell without actually looking at the game, but on the edges of the fog effect there down the side of the tunnel, it actually has a double effect, and so it's clearly clipping at the wrong edge of that particular spot. So that's one that we're going to go ahead and disable as well. This one is a little bit harder. The fog is definitely a nice effect, and it doesn't. It's not necessarily a game-breaking bug, but it's definitely a problem, and it sort of depends upon your judgment as to whether or not it's worth keeping or not. Some people don't mind these sorts of effects in 3D, and so they don't necessarily mind having it be like a little bit glitchy. That's sort of the way we used to play a long time back, where things were fairly glitchy, and we just had to put up with it. Now that we don't sort of have to put up with it, it's a little bit tougher a call to decide whether it's worth keeping or not. Okay, so I'm stepping up through the shaders. I guess I'll go ahead and just hold it down and go a little bit faster through these. Our shader trimming operation is still in place as well, but there's about 300 shaders in this particular scene, so there's definitely need to step through a bunch of them. Now, as part of this also, if you change an effect here, it might affect later shaders in the game as well. It's always possible that the same shader is used elsewhere, so some fog effect, if we disable it here, it'll disable it elsewhere as well. If we disable it too early, then of course we don't necessarily know where it actually impacts the rest of the game. That's another good reason to leave the toggle on so we can actually check it on and off depending on what's happening. Okay, there it is. So interesting sort of effect there, and off is clearly easier on the eyes, but definitely not as much ambience. But I would say it's definitely worth at least putting on our list. We don't have to mark it off the list, of course, for any of these, but it's something that's worth marking on our list. So I'm going to save it with numpad 3. So it's saved. Switch back out and do our thing again. I cleaned up this folder here, so these are only the ones that we're working on right at the moment. And so that's 304 at the current section, so that's the latest one. Going to add a comment for this one. Okay, so now we have something that we know about what's there. Go ahead and switch back into the game itself. So when we switch out and switch back in, the list gets reset, and then we also get that effect turned back on. So that's okay for the time being. So anyway, that's one of those that's not exactly clear. If you're not looking at it, it's not that big a deal probably, and maybe the fog effect is worth having instead of having it disabled, because it definitely is a nice effect. All effects are nice effects. We don't want to kill them if we don't have to, but we will kill them if they cause us problems. Here's another one that we can see in this particular room, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. Alright, I'm going to step through this one, about 200 shaders in here, going backwards through the list this time. Looking for the fog at the back of the room here. You can see the stalactites making a problem with that fog back there. In general, this game has problem with fog. There it is. Should have gone forward this time instead. He's at number 28 instead. Okay, now taking a look at this effect here, I think you get the idea behind how we need to step through the game and like find broken effects. We're going to find a lot of fog effects that are broken, and we're going to go ahead and save those off into the notepad so we can actually see them in the dumps folder with comments. So rather than actually go through the game and take your time to do that, I'm going to go ahead and skip out, and I'll show you the individual pieces as I go, so you can actually see the effect that's happening and then what the file is, but I won't do all of the in-between steps to try to speed this up. Okay. Stalagmites are the ones that come up from below. Stalactites come from above. But you knew that. Okay. Okay, now we're down into this room. More problem with fog. The fog up in the center section there is definitely causing a problem with the stalactites. It's actually off by quite a long ways. Interesting. So sort of multiple levels, I guess. So this is a interesting combination here. So as I step up through these, then I get the back room there. If I go past him, then the next one goes, but both of those are actually broken. I can see haloing and bad eyeshadow on each one of those, so alternating between the two. So they both are interestingly broken. The top one is perhaps less damaging because it's in a smaller area and it's not as much in your main visual view, but they both are fairly bad. Okay, so we're going to mark them anyway. We can always decide yes or no later, so I'm going to go ahead and save that one in the list. I'll tab out, switch back to our shader list, and now this is with 182. And there's my little friend on the upper side. So numpad 3 for the upper one. And we will alt tab out for that guy. So that's number 140. Found my gun. Okay, now we're seeing a weird effect there. That's part of the skip list mechanism. So that one shader is still on the skip list, and that's causing that strange effect on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that fog shader back on to get rid of that. That's another reason I don't recommend using the skip list, is because it can cause strange artifacts like that while you're playing the game. Now another thing you can see while I'm searching for this particular shader is see the halo around the gun. the halo is on the fog itself, and so if we get rid of the fog, then we won't have that halo around the gun. It happens in both cases. Okay, seems like that ran across it. So the same thing that we saw in the splash screen, it turns purple instead of disappears altogether. But I would say that's clearly the shader, especially given our previous experience. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that one with the numpad 3 key. And let's go ahead and Alt-Tab out. Now we've got a new one here. This is 206, this particular room. This one's interesting. Got saved as a shader, but it doesn't have any comments at the top, unlike most of them. So it doesn't give us the information about what the actual parameters are as compared to this one where the parameters come in. So always some unusual stuff in the games. Never can be sure exactly what's going to happen. In Unity games, typically there are no comments at all, and so they tend to be quite a bit harder to figure out. Okay, this is a annoying bloom effect again. Oops, I have a unusual keyboard setup. That's why I occasionally get those things. Okay, annoying bloom in tunnel on the roof of the ball gun room. And that shader there is probably going to be very similar to the other one, although it does have an if equal that they put in there, not us. Oh no, actually that is us. Oh, interesting. Okay, so okay. So I'm not sure exactly why that didn't work, and that's why the comments are missing actually. So that's an interesting one there. So something to do with jumping back into the game and maybe the skip list. So this is actually our shader because the reason I know it is only by looking at patterns. So this line here, C200, all the comments got stripped out, but this number here, the 0.0625, is a magic number which is very consistent with our stuff. C200 is the one that we used before, and this is our code. We put the C220 that comes in from the defined settings, that's the constant. If it's a 0 compared to 200.0, then we disable the effect. So this is the same code as before, in fact, and so this is, in fact, the same shader, so that will be disabled when we go. So this one can't exactly explain why this came in differently, and it has a different number as well, so that one's unusual. So I'm going to go ahead and add an extra comment here since I just noticed that. So this is the same as the A977E84A shader. No idea why this came in this way, but we'll figure that out, I guess. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and switch back out now that we got our guy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and keep going through the game until we get to the first save spot. Inscrutable alien machinery. Now here's a good example of a shader going down the hallway there with the fog. So further away, it's actually quite annoying because on the right eye by itself, you can actually see how much the fog cuts that image in half. So looking at far distances, the fogs are quite annoying. Okay, there it is. Okay, so that's weird. Okay, so that's that sort of skip list artifact that doesn't happen when the shader's actually like gone. But I'm pretty sure that is the fog itself. Okay, I'm going to say that that's it for the moment here. I'm going to go ahead and choose that numpad 3. Alt-Tab out. That's shader number 116. So this guy is our little friend. This is fog on the floor of the ballroom. That's amusing. I don't know. Doesn't mean anything, but that's a cool effect with the spider web. Okay, there's our shader there. Okay, so I step back up through it and get that same effect. So yeah, pretty sure that's the actual shader for the fog on the floor. So nothing else seemed even close to promising, so we'll go with that one. Now here's another one of those that's a hard judgment call. This fog way up in the top here. You're probably only going to look up here maybe once or twice. It's not a huge thing. So it's hard to justify putting a lot of effort into fixing something like that unless it's an easy fix for something else. But as far as disabling them, it's super easy. So Do we need that fog up there? You know, you could make the same argument the other way around. Do I need the fog up there if I only look up there once or twice? Is it going to make that much difference? There it is. No, that's not it. That's a partial. That's a partial ambient shader there. So that's fog that's in the room that actually seems to work. I don't see any haloing off of that fog. That's like a different different type of room fog. So that's not it. That's not the one that's causing trouble. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I do like the spider web. That's a good effect. Okay, we wrapped all the way around and I didn't see the fog leave, so something's up. Could be that one, I suppose. Doesn't make sense though because it impacts the other pieces that are down lower in the room. So that seems more like, you know, the ceiling or the concrete there. Okay, I'm going to say that that's actually the effect that we want. It's unusual because the black bars are coming toward us, but that's actually what the fog is doing, is it's actually sinking into the room toward us, and then it dissipates as it gets closer to us. So given that we went all the way through all of the shaders and nothing else seems to make sense, I'm going to say that that's probably our shader. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that one. Okay, we wrapped all the way around to 0, so I think that's our only candidate shader as far as that goes. Okay, switching out, going back to, this one is 168, so this is fog at the top, fog on top of the ballroom. Got our little friendly monkeys. Monkeys, of course, that need to get the doll to smash the monkeys. No, missed one. Oh. Oh, there's monkey blood everywhere now. Here again, we have more fog in the room up at the ceiling. Same problem that we were having before. Okay, there's another one. So that gives us confidence that our previous shader actually probably is the one that we were looking at. In this room, we can actually see exactly what's happening. So when the fog dissipates, the black bars disappear, and so then we actually get a clean view. So this is clearly the correct shader for this particular fog. Numpad 3, and Alt-Tab out. So that one is number 55 in this case. And in fact, actually, looking at these shader numbers, we can see that that actually is, in fact, the same shader. It's 55 in this case because the list got reset as we went to a different room, 168 in that case, but the CRC number is the same, 08360 C15, C15 here. So both of those shaders are, in fact, the same one. And so if we fix one, we'll fix the other one. Now, using that same idea, we can look at these other ones and see, and we have a duplicate here as well. So F69, that'll actually be fixed when we fix the first one, we'll fix the second one. Okay. Okay, so let's see. I'll go ahead and comment this one anyway, just for good habit purposes, and because we're going to leave these shaders in this dumps folder, so it'll tell us what's going on. So this is fog from the roof in the first puzzle room. Nice bugs on the floor. If you run through this, you also get a on-screen effect with bugs and cobwebs. It's actually at screen depth, but that seems okay and doesn't seem annoying at all, even though it's at screen depth. So we'll definitely go ahead and leave that one as far as that goes. Okay, so we got the saving in the upper right corner, and I got a checkpoint, so that'll save a spot for us to come back to as far as the other game goes. So I'm going to go ahead and quit the game at this moment, and we will be able to come back here without any trouble. Alrighty, we are back at the desktop after having run the ball there. We've saved off all of the shaders that we think are actually impacting the first level of the game. So this is 11 shaders. We know there's at least 2 dupes in there, so that's 9 shaders that we're going to disable in order to improve the visual effect of the game. So we can do that a couple of different ways. We need to save these shaders. These are actually in the dumps folder. There's the full path for the dumps folder, and it's a single shaders pixel shader, so these actually aren't going to be active if we run the game, of course. These are the dumps instead. We need to copy these and save them into the shader override folder like we did before. So for example, just to refresh your memory, here's shader override pixel shaders. So this is another folder that's the one where they're actually active. So the only one that we did so far is the A977, this bloom effect shader here. So there's multiple ways to do this. I think we can copy all of these and then change the names and then edit the CRCs and all that jazz. But we already have these already open in Notepad++. So here's the technique that I would recommend. Since we already have these open and we commented them, we can go ahead and actually save these directly from here into that particular folder. So this is our one that's actually regular there. That's our example that I'm going to go ahead and close. So this is the pixel shader that we hit right at the splash screen. So it's the fog at the game splash screen on the floor. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and edit this file here, then save it over into the proper folder. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we did in the original one. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this code. So constant will be the same. Our comment will be the same for that particular part there. So that seems fine. We'll go back in here, find our PS130. Okay, so that's our constant that's in there. I'm going to change the language so that it's C, so it looks a little bit better. Now we have our section down here, so let's go ahead and copy and paste this, just like usual. Scroll to the bottom. So this code is going to be slightly different, so we'll double check it to make sure that seems right. But this one actually fills out the whole thing. OC0 is still getting colors output. So pretty sure this will still work. No guarantee, of course, we might have to come back in here and edit that, but we'll start with what we think is going to work. Okay, so this one is actually the fog at the game splash screen. It's on the floor. So we'll say disable fog on floor. Okay, so this is doing the same thing as it did before. The constant is coming in from the dx9 settings.ini file, same as before. It's register 220 that comes in. So register 220 is going to come in. Const1 is going to be either 0.0 or 1.0. Gets put into R30. We compare it to C200, which is our constant that's local, and we're looking for the 0. If the 0 matches, if C220 is equal to C200, then that means we should disable it, which means that we will execute this statement and set the result to 0. And this is the output color register, so that should work in that case. Okay, so that all seems fine. Okay, so now instead of saving this into the dumps folder, I'm going to go ahead and do a save as. So this is going to actually move this output as far as the Notepad editor is concerned. So we're going to go back to the binary Win32 directory. So now we're actually going to go to shader override, pixel shaders. Now, since we're here, we have to do all these multiple steps anyway. We might as well do them here as anywhere else. So change the name, get rid of the junk at the front. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure it's got the right number of levels. Save the file type as. Okay, and so then that one has been saved, and you saw him show up in the shader override folder over here as a particular shader. I'm going to sort this by date modified as well so we can see. So this is our newly changed, edited version of that particular file. Okay, the one that's in the other folder is still there, and he's been unchanged as far as that goes. He has a comment that we put in when we first did it, but of course none of the other code is actually at the bottom of the file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that one to avoid getting confused. Okay, so now that that has been changed, the other part is that this gives you a little working list too. So now this one has been changed, this one has been changed, this one is not. So clearly this is the next one on our list. We're going to go ahead and do this one. So ambient fog in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and go through these quickly. I think you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the constants. we go. I'm going to go through all of these. In fact, actually, we're just not going to save. So this is the same sequence for the constants for every one of these files. So it all has to go right after Pixel Shader 3.0. It actually has to be in the define constant section. It doesn't have to be after PS 3.0, but it has to be in this section. Now this one I'm not going to change because I think this was a mistake. So this one is a copy of our original shader. So rather than do anything with this one, I'm going to let it be. We're not going to double fix it. That's why the comments are missing, and it's the same code. So this one, in fact, I'm going to close it so that it doesn't confuse us. Okay, all of them have been edited so that they have the defined constant at the very top. Now we're going to go back and grab our fixing code. And we're going to go ahead and fix this first guy. Same idea, output C register, nothing too different than what we did before. This particular file is the ambient fog in the splash room. This comment here is probably a little redundant as far as that goes. The only reason I put some of these in is that it sometimes can be a chore to keep going to the top of the file to like see what we're actually like doing depending on where the code is. So as long as there's at least one comment in there, I think it's fine. No need to have extras if you don't want them. Okay, same code as before, should be fine. Going to do a save as, and this is going to go into the other folder. Got to drive again. Win32, shader override, pixel shaders. Get down here, edit this thing here, change that to just be the constant. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks good. All right, saved it. Oops, I missed the click there. Okay, so that one's been saved, so he's ready to go. Next one on the list. Okay. Okay, so there's one where the file actually exists already. So we've already done that file. So we know for sure that the shader that we already put over here, FF69, that's actually already been fixed. So we don't want to replace him. We'll say no there, and we'll go ahead and cancel out of that particular part there. So this shader, let's go ahead and grab him up. So which one is this? This one is the ambient fog in the room at the splash startup screen. So the ambient fog is the same thing as this particular fog. So I'm going to go ahead and put a comment in there. This is the fog leading further into the cavern. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this comment and put it into this this particular F69 guy. So we can actually say this is also the fog leading further into the cavern. So that one should fix both of those at the same time. Okay, so this one, I'm going to go ahead and close this without saving because we already have it fixed. Okay, so now this is the next one on the list here. This is an FF69 as well. So, not sure if I... Yeah, so this is the same shader as the one we just did before. So rather than do the same mistake again, I can see that it's already been fixed. FF69 is the last part. FF69 is the last part here as well. So this shader is the fog in the ball gun room and the main area looking at the door. So clearly this is the same shader in multiple places, just like we were sort of expecting. So I'm going to go ahead and add this comment to that same shader here. So let's also... fog in the ball gun room, main area looking at doors. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this one without saving, since it's the same one. All 8 characters. Nope, he's the same one that we just did. Okay, so that one's a duplicate as well, so go ahead and cancel that. So that's not the 69, but that's the BE2B. So it's the one that we did right before getting confused on those other ones. So this one is a duplicate as well. So let's go ahead and copy the comment and add it to this particular one, which has already been fixed. And we'll add the also comment there, fog coming in from the roof, the ball gun room. Same tunnel fog in both rooms, which is not a surprise. Okay, go ahead and save that guy. Now, since that's a duplicate, we'll go ahead and close this one without saving. All right, and now we see how this is working. We're actually going to look at the number first. So this one is C670, and we already have a C670 here as well. So we've already fixed this one as well. This one is the fog on the floor of the ballroom. And this one here is going to be the fog in the splash screen on the floor. So no surprise there. The fog is used in multiple places. Okay, can go ahead and save that file there just for the comment. That one's already been fixed because we already put the code in at the bottom down here. Okay, back to the one that we were just looking at there. So no need to fix that one any further. Going to go ahead and say no saving for that one. Next on our list, this one is a OC15, and he's not in the list. Okay, so now this one is a new one. So we need to go ahead and fetch our fixing code. And this is for the fog in the tunnel at the top of the room moves toward us and dissipates. So this one is different. Sorry, this is the one that actually has the black when it's been disabled. Okay. So output's color register should still work to disable it the same way. Until proven otherwise, we want to copy and paste this same code. And it makes it safer when we copy and paste this because it's easy to make mistakes, as we noted before. One left. Now this one is a OC15. And we just did an OC15, so we're not going to do this one twice. This is fog from the roof in the first puzzle room, and we thought it might be similar because it has that same black effect. So clearly it is the same shader. Different numeric starting section, 55, but the actual CRC is the same. The CRC is what actually matters. Okay, so we're going to copy that, add it to the comment for this guy, just so we know where it actually comes from. Okay, so now we know that that's been used in multiple places, and we just fixed it a moment ago, so it should actually be okay. Okay, so then that when we don't have to save, close it without saving. All right, all of our shaders have been fixed, so our to-do list is done. So now that we've finished doing that, we're actually done with that particular editing sequence for the entire first level of the game. Okay, so that's it. These are the 5 shaders now that are actually there from our list of 11. We actually had a lot of dupes. And so these are the ones that are actually going to be loaded at game launch. Well, here we are. We've finished editing all of our files. We have all of our pixel shaders in the Shader Override Pixels shaders folder. These are all set up to be disabled. So we are ready to try it out to make sure that it actually fixes all of the effects. So the entire first level of the game should be fixed in 3D. So let's go take a look. Okay, here we are at the splash screen, taking a look at our fixes to see how it looks. Looks pretty good. We definitely are changing the image, making it better, so no shadow effect around the edge of the ball on the left-hand side when you're looking at it on the 2D image. So we fixed that one. No fog down here on the floor, so the fog is gone and no longer clipping badly. And of course our bloom effect has been gone for a long time, so that looks good. We're going to try setting the toggle. So there's the toggle, so relatively low convergence at the moment, so that's why this bloom is back closer to the ball and being terrible. Fog is back. Fog on the ball. We can actually see a halo around the ball now as well. So our toggle is working exactly like we'd expect. Oh my. So looking pretty good. We definitely managed to fix the splash screen and make it look quite a bit better. Let's go ahead and take another couple of samples further into the game and see how it looks further in. Okay, here we are at the ballroom, and things are looking pretty good, at least better than they were before. We've got an interesting bloom effect off of there, but that actually looks like it might be right in 3D. We're getting some sort of sideways bloom effect off of the fire there. On both sides, it's definitely sort of a horizontal bloom instead. Getting it off of all of those fire there. If we go a little bit higher, it makes it a little bit worse. So I would say maybe we didn't get every effect. Might have to come back and tweak a couple of those to make it a little bit better. Overall, though, definitely an improvement. No fog on the floor, no halo around the ball, No crazy fog in the sky to make our eyes bleed. Here it's back to make it a little tougher on us. Lots of bloom everywhere, lots of craziness. In this room in particular, if you look at it when you're playing it in 3D instead of just on the 2D video, this is where you can really tell the difference between making it playable versus it being unplayable. It's just too much stuff is wrong in here to make it any fun at all when you're trying to play this game with it being broken. Okay, so on off works good, looks pretty good. We definitely have dramatically improved this room at least. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move further into the game. Okay, this is the last room for this first level, so just a spot check here to see if we managed to fix the shaders. Looks good, nothing out of the ordinary. We'd be really surprised if it wasn't working because that shader was used in other different rooms. When we do the on effect, we can see how the bloom is actually terrible, even in this room here, which is quite a ways from the start of the game, of course. So disabling that bloom effect is definitely affecting further into the game, including that piece there. Fog is coming out. Doesn't look too terrible, but definitely is not good in 3D, so off is definitely superior. With everything off, everything seems clean in this room. We don't even have that sideways glitch on the fireplaces. So we're not sure exactly what that's about. So, looks pretty good. I think we succeeded at least in making it a lot better. I would say it's at least playable through this round. There's nothing too significant that would prevent us from playing this. Looking good. Here we are at the end of lesson 4, so we might have overstated the case a little bit by saying that we were going to fix the entire game. Given the time constraints, we only finished level 1, but certainly any further fog that's using those shaders or the bloom that's used further in the game will be fixed, so we definitely have made an impact on further levels of the game that we have yet to see. So I hope you can see how easy it is to actually take a game from unplayable to playable by just turning off a few of those effects. That's maybe not as good as we would want, but it's certainly much better than it was. So time for the quiz. If you can add another toggle effect to make the bloom effect independent from the fog effects, then we could actually do some more experiments where we can actually see fog on or off to make a judgment call on whether we actually want to actually leave it on, or perhaps later on we can actually make it user choice instead. So hope this was interesting. If you have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to ask. Sorry this ran a little bit long. Some of these things are a little tricky. Hope you're enjoying the show.